Alright, so Pokemon Day is about to hit, and Nintendo just dropped a surprise that's already splitting the fan base right down the middle, because on February 27th, 2026, right after the Pokemon Presents, we're getting Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green on Nintendo Switch, and they're also playable on Switch 2. And yeah, this whole situation is kind of wild. Now, before anyone says, wait, aren't Red and Green the originals? Yes. Pokemon Day celebrates the original Pokemon Red and Green launch in Japan, but the games Nintendo is actually putting on Switch are the Game Boy Advance remake Fire Red and Leaf Green. So it's Gen 1, but it's the 2004 definitive versions of Gen 1, not the original Game Boy versions. And here's where things get spicy. Nintendo is selling them separately for $19.99 each. So if you want both, you're basically paying $40 to replay Kanto for games that are more than 20 years old. And to be clear, I'm not saying Fire Red and Leaf Green are bad games, they're legendary. They're basically the polished ultimate Kanto experience from that era, and a ton of people have serious nostalgia for them. For some fans, this is the dream, playing the classic Kanto run on one modern system, handheld or docked, no modding, no fuss, just boot it up and go. But the controversy is how Nintendo is handling it. First big thing, these are not coming to Nintendo Switch Online, they're standalone eShop releases. That's a huge deal because the whole point of Switch Online, especially with the classic libraries, is pay the subscription, get the retro games. And these are exactly the kind of games people expect to land there one day. Instead, Nintendo basically went, nah, pay up. Second big thing, and this is the one that hurts in 2026, online play is not supported. You can trade and battle using local wireless like the old days. Basically the modern replacement for link cables, the wireless adapter. But if your friend isn't physically nearby, you're out of luck. No online battling, no online trading. And that's the part that feels the most out of touch. Because the people who grew up with these games aren't kids meeting up after school anymore, they're adults with jobs, families, and friends spread all over the place. Local-only connectivity in 2026 feels like Nintendo time-traveled in the worst way. Now here's another weird detail. The language versions are separate purchases, so there's an English version, a European French version, and a European Spanish version, and you don't just switch language in a menu. You buy the version you want, and that's that. That's such a 2004 thing to do, and Nintendo is keeping it that way. And then we get to the next argument, ownership versus access, because I've already seen people defending the $20 price with, well, you own it. And I get the mindset, paying once feels better than renting through a subscription, but digital ownership is still messy. Stores delist games, licensing changes, accounts get locked, stuff disappears. So while I understand why people prefer buying, it's still not the same as having a proper physical release you can throw on a shelf forever. And speaking of physical releases, Nintendo's stance here is basically no physical release. So you're paying premium nostalgia pricing for a digital-only classic in a world where fans have been begging for proper preservation-friendly releases. Now here's the part that's going to annoy a lot of people even more. Japan is getting a special boxed edition. And before you picture a normal physical cartridge, it's still basically a code in a box situation. But the presentation is gorgeous. It comes with replica-style packaging and collectible items, and it's the kind of thing collectors actually want. And as of right now, it's Japan only. So yeah, that familiar Nintendo feeling of Japan gets the nice stuff. So why is Nintendo doing it this way? Officially, Nintendo's framing is basically, this is a special anniversary release, and Fire Red / Leaf Green are the ultimate versions of the original Kanto adventures. So they wanted to celebrate with these specific games, and they've also straight up said they don't have anything to announce about bringing the original Red and Blue to Switch Online. From a business angle, it's easy to see why. Pokemon is Pokemon. You could slap that logo on almost anything and it sells. People love Kanto, people love the vibe of those older games. And for a lot of fans, $20 is an instant buy without even thinking. Nintendo knows that. But from a player angle, it still raises the obvious question, why not do a best of both worlds approach? Because imagine how clean this could have been. Option 1, put them on Switch Online so subscribers can try them. Option 2, also sell them separately for people who want to buy and keep them. And if you really want to go the extra mile, bundle both versions together at a slight discount, and add online trading and battling so it actually feels modern. That would have shut down most of the backlash instantly. Instead, we've got a situation where they're charging $20 each, not including them in Switch Online, not offering online play, and making it digital only, while collectors watch Japan get a fancy edition. So, what do you think? Is this a fair anniversary release? Or is it Nintendo cashing in on nostalgia because they know people will pay? Are you grabbing FireRed, LeafGreen, both or neither? And if you could change one thing about this release, what would it be? Online play, a bundle price, physical release, Switch Online access? Drop your take in the comments, and if you want more coverage after the Pokemon Presents on February 27th, hit subscribe. Because depending on what they announce, this could either be the start of classic Pokemon coming back properly, or it could just be Nintendo testing how much they can charge for a ROM in 2026.